Hello and welcome to Gardening at 58 North. In this video I'd like to give you guys another update on my Amaryllis bulbs here. As you can see, they've really put on a lot of growth since the last video. This one's still pretty much completely dormant, but these two have done quite well. So in the previous video, I think there's one in the middle, it just had a few shoots just starting to appear right at the top of the bulb. As you can see now, it's got two lovely big flower spikes and they really are quite tall. You can see they're over a foot tall already. Now I don't think these will get much taller, but they are going to be quite tall, and the reason for that is it's very dark here in Scotland at the moment. It's the middle of winter, and unfortunately this January has been particularly dark. So this hasn't had enough light, so it's going to be quite tall, these flower spikes. They often flower about this kind of height, but I'm expecting them to get a few inches taller, just because of the lack of light here at the moment. But you can see it's quite healthy. It's the first time I've ever had two shoots at the same time, so it'll be interesting to see when they open up, if they'll be able to open up without getting too much in the way of each other. I actually prefer it when they flower at different times, which is what they normally do for me. Normally get one shoot comes up, and then if there is a second one in the shoot, it'll come up just as the other one's dying off, so it'll give me a longer flowering period. But this just means the flowering period will be shorter, but it'll be more spectacular because there'll be a lot more flowers at one time. As you can see, as I say, they're doing very well. I keep turning them because they keep curving towards the window, which is why you can see them curved there. I did turn them this morning, but they're already curving again. And there's also at least a couple of leaves coming up. I think possibly three. It's kind of hard to count them because they're wedged in between the two flower spikes, but it does seem to be doing quite well. But what I will do to this video is I'm going to take off a lot of this dead material. As I said in the previous video, it had a bit of rot, and for that reason one half the bulb has got a bit damaged and it's lost about a third of its size. I don't normally take off the dead material unless it's loose or there's a huge amount of it, because it doesn't do any harm normally. But as there's so much on this one and it is loose, I'm going to take it off, and it'll also let me see how the infection's doing, see if it's completely healed up or not. Also, taking it off will also let me get some more air into it, and that should hopefully prevent any further infection. But generally, if it's stuck on the bulb, I wouldn't pull it off, because if you pull it off and it's stuck on, you'll actually damage the bulb, and then you'll probably get more infection because you'll let the infection into the bulb. So I'm just going around here, anything loose I'm just going to peel off. It doesn't need to be completely green, the bulb, it just needs all the really loose material taken off, just so I can see what's going on better. So that's the bulb appearing a bit nicer and neater. As I say, generally I don't remove the brown material, but if it's got a huge amount like this and it's got infection like on this side, then I do remove it. These bits I'm probably going to leave because they still seem to be kind of attached. But looking at it, it doesn't look too bad. The infection, I think, is kind of finished now, and it certainly doesn't seem to be infecting the growth of the flower spikes. They're still doing really well. And if you look in there, I think you can just about see there is a small white root just coming down there. So it seems to be producing some new roots again. So that's a good sign. Even from the infected side, it's growing new roots. So that one's doing a lot better than I thought it would, especially with the recent infection. The other one that's doing really well is the young baby one. It's already put out 3 leaves, and I looked down in there. I don't know if you can really pick it up on the camera, but there is actually a 4th leaf just at the very bottom as well. So that's at least 4 new leaves that it's growing, and these leaves are definitely much wider than the original set of leaves, and that's not surprising if this is the next year. This one should grow a lot more leaves than it did in the first year. The leaves will be a lot larger, and that will allow it to put a lot more energy into the bulb, and we should get some quite good bulb growth this time. It's also got some fresh new roots starting to come out of the bottom. There's one here which is a little bit older, but there's some more fresher ones just starting to show in there. So it's definitely come out of its dormant phase and it's coming into its growth phase. So it'll be interesting to see how much this grows this year. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to give it the sunniest position just because I have so many plants on the sunny windowsill. Might not be space for it, but it'll certainly get enough light, and hopefully it'll fatten up and we'll get some flowers in a year or two. Finally, the last bulb is this one here. This again has quite a lot of dead material, but it all seems quite firmly attached, so I'm just taking off the loosest stuff. And that's about all that I want to really take off from this bulb, because it is quite firmly attached, and ripping it off won't do it any good. But as you can see, it hasn't really done much since the last video. It still looks pretty dormant. I am giving it a tiny bit of water, starting to give it a bit of dampness just to bring it out of dormancy, but I'm being really careful with the watering so it doesn't become overwatered. But if you have a look in here, there is actually a leaf starting to develop. It's just under there. You can see that kind of curved curved shape just there. It definitely is a leaf because it's got a curve to it. It doesn't have a notch on the top like a flower shoot. And I can't see any shoots that are coming up that look like flower shoots, but I'm sure they'll come. This bulb is absolutely huge. It's a lot bigger than my other bulb, so there should be a lot of energy in here, and there should be hopefully at least 2 flower spikes. I might even get more, I'm not sure, but I've never had more than 2 flower spikes, so hopefully this year I might even get 3 off this one. But even if there is just 2, they should have a lot of flowers in each spike. Spikes normally have between 2 and 4 flowers. It varies on how much energy the bulb has. So it'll be interesting to see how that does, but that's certainly going to be a few weeks away at least. So the next update I'll do will be probably about this one here mainly, because this will be in full flower in the next update, so this should be looking quite nice. I think these are all red if my memory serves me correctly. And also in the next update there should be a lot more leaf growth from this little guy down here. And I'm not expecting much from this because it's so close to the beginning of its new growth phase. It'll take a while to get going. I find it takes a little while to get out of the bulb, but then once the leaves start coming out of the bulbs or the flower starts to come out of the bulb, the growth really shoots up. For example, this one's only about a month or so since it started to come out of the bulb, and it's really put on a lot of growth now, especially in the last week. It's really shot up. About a week ago it was still only down about this level. It's just recently shot up. So it'll be good to see them in full flower again. That's it for this update, and I'll give you guys an update again when it's in full flower.